From Royce Gracie, the master of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, to Wanderlie Silva, who dominated the Pride middleweight division, let's dive into a list of the scariest MMA fighters of all time. To start off, we have a man who revolutionized the sport, the one and only Royce Gracie. He submitted his opponents left and right, often with brutal chokeholds that left them gasping for air. His ground game was unparalleled, and he could use his small size to his advantage, often taking down much larger opponents with ease. I mean, can you even imagine stepping into the Octagon with this guy? Just the thought of it gives me chills. Then there's the Spider, who was truly a master of his craft. Anderson Silva was a true master of striking. He also had some of the game's most devastating kicks and punches. His precision was unmatched, and he could easily knock out opponents. He had an incredible 17-fight win streak and held the middleweight belt for 7 years. His fights were always a sight to see, and you could never quite predict what he'd do next. Now, if we're talking about scary fighters, it would be a mistake to forget about this one fighter. It's none other than Jon Jones.
Jones to the body, and it is all over! Jon Jones is the youngest champion in UFC history!
This guy's an absolute beast in the Octagon, with an incredible reach and an arsenal of moves that could take down even the toughest opponents. He's known for his aggressive fighting style and ability to adapt to any situation. And let's not forget about his spinning elbows and knees, which are some of the most dangerous strikes in the game. Jon Jones is a force to be reckoned with, and I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of one of his attacks. Speaking of, there's another fighter who strikes fear into the hearts of his opponents. I'm referring to Khabib Nurmagomedov. He's an absolute monster on the ground, with an undefeated record of 29-0. He's known for his incredible wrestling skills and ability to take down opponents easily. And once he's on top of you, good luck getting back up. He's known for his brutal ground and pound, which has left many opponents battered and bruised. Khabib's a true champion and one of the most intimidating fighters in the game. This next guy's known for his trash talk just as much as he is for his fighting skills, and he's certainly not afraid to get in his opponent's heads before a fight. It's our very own Conor McGregor. Once he steps into the Octagon, it's all business. McGregor's a true master of striking, with some of the game's most devastating punches and kicks. He's also known for his lightning-fast footwork and ability to evade his opponent's attacks. He's a true showman and a force to be reckoned with. I can't believe I almost forgot about this next fighter. People think that his toned body and killer instinct are the main reasons why he's considered one of the most intimidating MMA fighters of all time. Yep, you guessed it, it's Anthony Johnson. The American fighter currently fights in the light heavyweight division for Bellator MMA. In 2021, he came out of retirement to beat Jose Augusto by knockout and make his record 23-6. His insane one-punch knockout power is shown by the fact that 17 of his 23 wins were by knockout. This next fighter was a true master of Sambo, and he had one of the most brutal ground and pound in the game. It's Fedor Emelianenko. He was also known for his incredible durability, often taking punishment from his opponents and still coming out on top. Fedor had an incredible record of 39-6, with 29 of those wins coming via knockout. He was a true legend of the sport, and one of the scariest fighters of all time. And let's not forget about the former UFC heavyweight champion, Francis Ngannou. This guy was an absolute beast, with incredible power in his hands that could knock out opponents with a single punch. He was also known for his brutal leg kicks and his incredible athleticism, which allows him to move around the Octagon with ease. Ngannou was a true force to be reckoned with, just like Jones, and he was only getting better with each fight. But alas, things didn't quite work out for him. But if I'm talking about scary fighters, I can't possibly leave out Iron Zambidis. Mike Zambidis was a true master of kickboxing, and he had some of the most brutal punches and kicks in the game. He was known for his incredible power and ability to knock out opponents with a single strike. Zambidis was a true legend of the sport, and his fights were always a sight to see. So far, I've only talked about men, but there's also this pioneer of women's MMA. It's It's none other than Ronda Rousey. She had some of the most dominant performances in the game. She was known for her incredible grappling skills and her ability to submit opponents with ease. And let's not forget about her incredible armbar, which she used to finish many of her opponents. Ronda was a true inspiration to women everywhere and will always be remembered as one of the scariest fighters of all time. Moving on, this Croatian MMA fighter's also among some of the deadliest warriors in the history of MMA. It's the one and only Mirko Cro Cop. He has a special place on our list of the 10 most intimidating MMA fighters ever. He was honored to be the only fighter to compete in almost all of the biggest MMA and kickboxing promotions. There must be something about how he fights and how hard he can stop someone that makes him such a dangerous monster. And this was just his signature kick. His famous signature move was called right leg hospital, left leg cemetery. It was so powerful that it could instantly put trained MMA beast to sleep. Even though he's considered to be the best MMA fighter of all time, 71 of his wins came from knockouts. But unfortunately, his own signature move, a left high kick, knocked him out and forced him to retire. Next, there's the Beast. Dan Severn is another pioneer of MMA fighting. He had an impressive record of 101 wins and only 19 losses. He was a master of wrestling and ground and pound, and he was known for his brute strength and incredible endurance as well. Severn was a terrifying opponent for anyone, and his fights were always a test of wills. Just like Fedor, this next guy's pretty well known too. It's Chuck Liddell. He's one of the most well-known MMA fighters of all time. He was once the UFC light heavyweight champion and spent his days easily knocking out his opponents as they shook in fear. He's a fighter with a great trademark mohawk. He's also got a cool, calm demeanor, devastating strikes, and the ability to get back up on his feet. He had a crazy, brutal, and relentless style of fighting, but that didn't help him at the end of his career when he lost his last 6 fights by knockout. Even so, he's still the UFC fighter that people try to avoid the most. Next, let's talk about Wanderlie Silva. He became famous thanks to his unbridled aggression, insane knockout power, and a strong foundation in Muay Thai. Because of his fierce attitude and style of fighting in the ring, he dominated the Pride middleweight division for a long time. This made him one of the most intimidating MMA fighters of all time. During the best part of his career, which was a long time, he seemed like an unbeatable force, but he only lost a few times in a row after he lost his title. Yet his hand warm-up exercises, along with his epic fights against Chuck Liddell and Quinton Jackson, make him one of the most intimidating MMA fighters of all time. That's all the scariest MMA fighters of all time.
Again, Khabib uses those legs to tie his legs up. I mean, it's a big part of his grappling.